About 83% of you guys are not subscribed. Subscribing, clicking that like button, and commenting all help me out a lot in doing what I really want to do. Thank you guys so much for all your support.
What is going on, guys? Rogue TCG here, bringing another Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG deck profile. Here is a different version of Phantom Knight. Earlier in the year, I did a Phantom Knight 101 deck profile, and I mentioned that Horus Phantom Knight is probably one of the better versions of the deck, although it is the pricier version. So I'm going to just go down the list what I think that my version of the Horus Phantom Knight build would look like. Again, your lists may look completely different than mine. But this is what I feel like works, in my opinion, for the Horus Phantom Knight deck. I did want to throw in the Adventure Engine in there, since the Horus cards don't normal summon, since they're all basically level 8. So I feel like the Adventure Engine, which already pre-existed in Phantom Knight, would also be very good in combination with the Horus Engine. We're on 50 in the main deck, 15 in the extra, 50 because of the Horus Engine. And I did want to put in hand traps as well as extenders, since we are not running Tour Guide or the Burning Abyss cards. So that's enough yapping for me. Let's get to the profile. First, we're on triple Phantom Knight of Torn Scales. We can, on ignition, discard a card to pitch a Phantom Knight from our deck to the graveyard. And if a Phantom Knight card is banished from our graveyard, we can special summon this card from our graveyard and banish it when it leaves the field. However, it's sent to the graveyard as a part of deck C's. It does not, or if it's attached as material, it does not go to grave. We're on triple boots. If we control a Phantom Knight, then we can special summon it, and then if it's in the grave, we can banish it to add a Phantom Knight spell trap from deck to hand. We're on double cloak. On field, it has an ignition effect to swap from attack to defense to increase a dark monster's attack on field by 800 attack and defense until the end of your opponent's next turn. And then we can banish this card from our graveyard to add one the Phantom Knight's card from our deck to our hand. Typically, it's going to be either boots or it's either going to be stained greaves. We are on one Phantom Knights of Ragged Gloves, a Dark Xyz that uses as material, gain 1000 attack permanently, and then we can banish it from the graveyard to dump a different Phantom Knights card from our deck to the grave. So this is kind of like a middle ground for cards we wouldn't dump to the graveyard. And our last main deck Phantom Knight monster is Phantom Knight of Stained Greaves, like I mentioned previously. If a Phantom Knight is special summoned to the field, except during the damage step, we can special summon it from our hand. Then we can choose to increase its level by 1, but we don't have to. And then we can banish it from our graveyard to special summon a Phantom Knight from our hand. And then we can choose to increase that monster's level by 1, but we don't have to. And then our last 3 Phantom Knight cards in the main deck are triple Phantom Knight Fogblade. We're not playing Wing or Shade Brigandine because they're a little bit more bricky, and we kind of just want the Fogblade interaction plus recursion. And we wanted to play more engines, not just Phantom Knight. Now let's get on to the Horus Engine. We are on 2 walls of the Imperial Tomb, which becomes King Sark in the field zone. During our main phase, we can add a Horus from our deck to the hand, then place a card from our hand to the bottom of the deck. And we can only use that effect once per turn. And if we have a card that we're not playing, we can draw a card. So that last effect is irrelevant, but that's fine. We're on triple King Sark. Horus monsters we control can't be destroyed by card effects that do not target them. We can send 1 card from our hand to the graveyard to send a Horus monster from our deck to the grave. We can only use this effect 4 times per turn, not just a thrice, but a 4 times per turn, which is nuts. And this is probably one of the main reasons to be playing this deck, is because we can basically get our full combo just by dumping our entire hand, no matter what. We are playing 2 Imseti Glory of Horus. Oh, and it also has an effect where it basically sends a card to the graveyard if a Horus monster battles it, which does come up sometimes. We're on 2 Imseti Glory of Horus. We control King Sark. We can special it from our graveyard. We can only special summon Imseti once per turn that way. We use each of the following effects of Imseti once per turn. We can send 2 cards from our hand to the graveyard, including this card, to add 1 King Sark from our deck to the hand. Then we can draw a card. If another card we control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect, while this card is in our monster zone, we can send 1 other card on the field to the graveyard, I believe. And then, yeah, it's just on the field to the graveyard. So we are on 2 Imseti. We're not playing 3 because we are playing functionally a lot of versions of King Sark, so we don't really need the tutor abilities too much, but we still would like to have it, especially given that that extra draws tacked on there. We're playing 1 Happy Guidance of Horus. Has that same effect to bring itself from the graveyard if a King Sark is on field, and we only special it once per turn. If a card leaves the field by an opponent's card effect while this card is in the monster zone, we can target 2 cards that are banished in the graveyards and either add both to the hands or shuffle both in the decks. Really good for getting our banished Phantom Knights back into rotation, as well as recycling our resources from the graveyard, like stuff like our Cherubini. We are on our last Horus cards. We're on 1 Queba Senef, Protection of Horus. We can bring it from the graveyard to control King Sark. And we can activate this effect. Your opponent's monster cannot target horus monsters for attack. Also, they can't target horus monsters on the field with card effects. And that's if another card we control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect while it's in our monster zone. That's it for our main deck choruses. We're playing 3 main deck choruses with different names, which is a little bit more than people are used to. However, I do want to have the ability to make Coach King Giant Trainer in order to draw more non-engine from the deck or potentially draw into alternative engines, like the next one we're going to be going over, which is our Adventure Engine. We're on Double Water Enchantress of the Temple. This is a card we can send to graveyard for cost using Cherubini Ebon Angel of the Burning Abyss, which you can send any level 3 from deck to graveyard for cost, which is pretty keynote. We're on a triple Rite of Aramesir. If we control no adventure token, we get to make an adventure token with 2k, 2k. And if we don't have a Faithful Adventure, we can place a Faithful Adventure from deck to our field, our spell and trap zone. And we can't activate the effects of monsters the turn we activate it, except for special summon ones. So any normal summon monster, basically no effects for the rest of the turn. And if we normal summon a monster and activate the effect beforehand, we cannot even activate it. However, this card is just so intensely strong, being able to grab Fateful Adventure, which is our next card, as well as making the token. But speaking of Fateful Adventure, once per turn, the first time a monster you control equipped with an equip spell card will be destroyed by battle. It is not. You can only use each of the following effects of Fateful Adventure once per turn. During our main phase, we can add one monster that mentions an adventurer token from our deck to our hand, then send a card from our hand to the graveyard. And if a monster is normal or special summon, we can take an equip spell that mentions an adventurer token from deck and either add it to hand or equip it to a thing that we control. That equip spell that we mentioned is going to be Dracoback the Rideable Dragon, equipped only to a monster you control. You're going to control one Dracoback the Rideable Dragon. You can use each of the following effects of Dracoback once per turn. Once per turn, while this card is equipped to a non-effect monster, you can target one card your opponent controls and return it to the hand. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, we can target an adventurer token we control and then equip this card to that target. So what we want to be doing is we want to make Rite of Aramesir, get the token, go Fateful Adventure, and either normal summon or special summon something in order to get our Draco back from deck to hand. Then we can activate the ignition effect of Fateful Adventure in order to add this next card, Wandering Griffin Rider, and discard the Draco back in order to attach it onto the token for free. Speaking of Wandering Griffin Rider, during the main phase we control no monsters or we control an adventurer token. Quick effect, we can special summon this card from our hand. When a card or effect is activated while we control an adventurer token, quick effect, you can shuffle this card into the deck, and if we do, negate that activation. And if you do destroy that card, you can only use each effect of Wandering Griffin Rider once per turn. This is just an Omni Negate. It's a really easy way to play around Nibiru when you're going first, and a very keynote way to set up interaction if they don't Nibiru. But that's it for our engines per se. We're on 30 cards worth of engines. So now let's get on to our non-engine portion. For extenders, we're on Psychic Wielder. If we control level 3, you can special from hand. Psychic Tracker does exactly the same, except it's not a tuner, it's a different name. We're on Double Kagamuchi Knight. If we normal summon a level 3, you can special summon it from our hand. Since we're playing a lot of level 3s in a deck, including hand traps, we can frequently get that effect off. And if we can't, it's a really good discard for King Sark or for any of our other effects that we might want to discard it for. We're on one Danger Tsuchinoko. I know it might look a little sus given we're not playing any other dangers. However, this is the only danger that doesn't need any other dangers to really function, and it is a level 3. Namely, just talking about Jackalope comparative to Tsuchinoko. I like Tsuchinoko a lot more. It's a really great pitch off of Phantom Knight of Tornscale. We are on triple emergency teleport for the Psychic Wielder and Tracker, as well as being able to grab Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. And speaking of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit and other hand traps, for hand traps we're on triple Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, a level 3, so a pretty decent normal summon. Double Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, it's good against Tempai and against some other decks. Also level 3 that we can grab off emergency teleport. Can also activate the effect on field, so keep that in mind, so it can turn an extra E-Telly in hand into interaction on our opponent's turn. And then we are on Triple Ghost Belt and Haunted Mansion, being one of the better level 3 hand traps that can prevent our stuff from getting bestialed or from getting called by, which is sometimes going to be the case. And then for hand trap prevention and extenders, we're on one Foolish Burial, and for hand trap prevention, we're on double Tactics and one Called By. In our extra deck, we're on one Salamangreat Almirage because all of our Phantom Knights are 1k or lower, except for Stained Griefs exactly, so we can send them to the graveyard easy peasy with Almirage. We're on one Dark to Dark Charmer Gloomy in order to bring back Dark Charm opponents' graveyards, one IP Masquerade in order to be just an end piece of our board to go into an SP Little Knight, just a really crazy card. One Cherubini Ebon Angel of the Burning Abyss needs 2 level 3s. Monster points to can't be destroyed by card effects, keep that in mind. If a card would be destroyed by battle or opponent's card effect, you can send one other card you control to the graveyard instead. Very epic replacement effect if we can manage to keep this on field, which most of the time we can't since we're not playing the Burning Abysses themselves. And then on Ignition, we can send one level 3 monster from our deck to the graveyard. Target a Burning Abyss monster on the field is going to have to be itself. It gains attack and defense equal to the attack and defense of the monster sent to the graveyard until end of turn. The actual effect doesn't sound that great, but if you actually look at it, it just says send a level 3 monster from our deck to the graveyard for cost. So pretty much never going to be interacted with in a meaningful way. The only card that can really deal with this is if we have no cards on field and our opponent uses Psy-Frame Gamma. We're on one Phantom Knights of Rusty Bardish, basically the best card in the entire deck. It needs 2+ Dark Monsters. During our main phase, we'd send one Phantom Knights monster from our deck to the graveyard, then set one Phantom Knights spell trap directly from our deck to our spell and trap zone. If a Dark Xyz monster is special summoned to a zone this card points to while this monster is on the field, we can just target one card in the field and destroy it. On our first turn, that's typically going to be our own card, but we can frequently bring cards back from our graveyard at quick effect speed, or we can use it as a piece of a board breaking combo. For Xyz, we're on one Levy of the Sea Dragon. Since all of our Phantom Knights banish themselves, it's a really great way to get them back by using Phantom Knights on field that would banish themselves as material anyway. One Raider's Knight in order to facilitate OTKs using Arc Rebellion Xyz Dragon, which gains a million fucking attack based on all the attack on the field and also can't be destroyed by card effects. Kino stuff. Another level 4 that we're planning on going into by using the Break Sword. That's how we get to our Raider's Knight or Evil Swarm Nightmare, which is our main thing that we want to be making turn 1. When it needs 2 level 4 darks. When your opponent special summons a monster, except during the damage step, we can attach a material to flip that thing face down, not once per turn, so we can flip 2 things on our opponent's turn if they don't remove this. We're on double Phantom Knight of Break Sword. Needs 2 level 3s. Once per turn, we can attach a material from this card, target a card you control and a card your opponent controls, and destroy both of them. And if this Xyz summon card is destroyed, we can target 2 Phantom Knights in our graveyard at the same level and special summon them and increase their level by 1. And then this is the only card in the deck that locks us into attributes. And after we use that graveyard effect, we are locked into darks for the rest of the turn. Speaking of locking into darks, we're on one Dingyurus of the Orcus of the Evening Star. Dingyurus doesn't lock us into darks himself, however, all the other Orcus that we're not playing do. We're planning on just hard making this with our horus cards. On summon, it just sends a card our opponent controls to graveyard, and while it's on field, if a card we control be destroyed by battle or card effect, we can attach material from it instead. Kind of like a Cherubini-like effect, which is really great if we can layer both of them. We're on one Coach King Giant Trainer, like I mentioned, it allows us to basically just draw 3 cards and can win us the game in time. And lastly, we're on one Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord in order to get an early monster negate if we don't have the right of Aramesir in our opening hand. But thank you guys so much for watching the video, if you still are, and I'll be seeing you all next time. Bye-bye! Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you wanted to talk to more Yu-Gi-Oh players like yourself, I would highly recommend checking out our Discord server. Link is going to be in the description, as well as the QR code on screen. We do talk somewhat frequently about Yu-Gi-Oh and the current meta, so I would really enjoy to see you there. As well as we do recently now have channel memberships available on our YouTube channel, where we have 3 different tiers. We have Super Supporter at $2 a month, where you get loyalty badges, emojis, guaranteed comment responses, a shout out at the end of every video, as well as access to the members only Discord channel, where you get early sneak peeks at future videos. There is the Giga Supporter at $5 a month, where you have early access to all new videos about a day or 2 before they go up, as well as all the previous offers. And for $15 a month, we do have our final tier, which is going to be Femboy Fanatic. You get a guaranteed customized video every single month, as well as 1 hour of my time. Could be for anything you'd like. You want a duel? Absolutely. You want me to help build a deck? Absolutely. You want to play some Helldivers? Sure. I'll do anything for an hour once a month. But supporting does help me out quite a lot, and it does help me produce all of these videos. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll be seeing y'all later. Bye-bye.